Trump's inauguration day, the big day, is here. And crypto will be a big part of this event as forecasted by many analysts. So really, what's going to happen today with his executive orders? What can he actually do? What has he promised? And what's likely to happen? Also, what about the next 1 to 3 months of this bull run? We're getting to sort of a mania stage, as we'll see in today's video. What's going to happen? Which type of altcoins still have opportunities and which are just going to be very volatile in the short term? And finally, will Trump really change anything for the long term when it comes to potential for crypto in the US over the next 1 to 4 years during his administration? So we'll talk about that in the very end. And this will be a jam-packed episode. Not only can you use this to take a educated decision in the upcoming week to 3 months for this bull run, but also I'll give you guys my real take on what actually matters over the long term. So if you're new here to the channel, welcome. My name is Dennis. I am a crypto angel investor for the past 6 years, and I have invested in over 100 crypto startups. On this channel, I share views on market trends and investing strategy to build wealth in crypto. Now, let's just jump right into it. And let's talk about, first of all, the short-term effects that the Trump administration, the new presidency, can have on crypto this week. So we have to address the elephant in the room, which is the Trump meme coins. Okay, so over the past 72 hours, 3 days ago on Friday night, Trump released his official meme coin, official Trump. Now, this is a huge coin now. It's at $8 billion circulating market cap, 42 billion fully diluted valuation. And what's more crazy is that yesterday, last night, his wife, Melania Trump, also released her own meme coin, which is sitting at 1 billion market cap, 5 billion plus FDV. Now, we're not going to talk about these as investments, whatnot, right? But this just goes to show you that Trump is actually very, very heavily involved in crypto now, especially with his children. They're very much more heavily involved in the altcoin side. So we'll dive into that a little bit when it comes to Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, which sort of the camp that Trump is doing in which kind of ecosystem. But what's really interesting for these two coins is we're talking about is a couple of things. Number one, the Trump meme, in my opinion, this is the most viral, most recognizable word, right? Trump, that probably is the most viral meme ever that from on a global scale. So when you think about other cultures around the world, like whenever I'm in China, right? When you talk about Doge, even, for example, to your friends, like not all of them know about it. Sure, a younger audience, they know about it. Maybe they know even Pepe. But even an older audience, they know Trump. And even non-English speaking countries, people, they know Trump in their own language. So I really think the Trump word itself and what it stands for and what people kind of feel about it, it's not even just about his last name anymore. It's kind of like a movement, a feeling, like being very ballsy, associated with a lot of controversy, but also like very freedom driven. So not to get into the politics of it, but I do think the Trump word, this meme, is by far the most viral thing. It's even more recognizable than Doge. So I don't think the Trump meme itself with these valuations is, it's unwarranted. Also, you got to consider this is literally the official meme coin of a president, like of the United States. How more crazy can anything get at this point? So I have exposure to the Trump meme coin. I also have exposure to the Melania meme coin. Now, I think the Melania one is probably just going to be a short-term like grift, to be honest. So after a very short hold, I'll probably convert it back to Trump. But and also I have a much smaller bag of Melania versus Trump. My timeline of this and how I'm trying to play this is that over the next week, Trump is going to be the man of the hour. Whenever he talks about Bitcoin, crypto, etc., it's going to be a pretty positive thing for his own meme coin. That's just basically what my plan is. And just look at the timeline of it. It's only been 3 days, and get out of CT, any other social media platform towards retail. A lot of people are talking about this coin, and these are not like crypto fans. They are actually normies trying to understand what this is, how they can buy it. And because it's on Solana, because it's launched on DEX using like Jupiter and Meteora, it's actually very difficult to buy. So here in Canada, I see a lot of posts where for my regular social media accounts, people trying to figure out, how do I buy Sol? Like, what is this? Why can't I trade it on Coinbase yet? And what is this other coin called Solana that I have to buy? And then I have to get this app called Moonshot or a Phantom wallet to buy it. So that onboarding flow, I haven't seen this for the longest time. The last time that I actually have seen this was around the Dogecoin craze in February to April 2021. I think this is a very similar effect playing out right now. So I don't want to mid-curve this and fade it. That's why I have it. Now, just keep in mind, mainstream onboarding takes time. Don't try to trade this and have leverage on it, etc. But I do think this coin is probably the most viral coin ever. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say about it. Honestly, there's so much more people have discussed about it, or whether this is like good or bad for politics, for ethics, whatever. I'm not an expert, and I'm not well versed in that to discuss it at all. So I'm just not gonna talk about that. I'm purely talking about what I see as like meme coin trading. Okay. Leave those discussions in other types of content if you want. So that's the short term when it comes to these meme coins. Now, there's also a lot of implications that this meme coin brings to Ethereum and to Solana, which we'll talk about in a bit, for the medium term effects. The other side of the short term effects, they lie around Trump's executive orders that he could have this week. Before that, also, like one last point that I want to tell you. This is actually very interesting for what he could do around his meme coins, which is that there has been leaks this week. Yesterday, some people are saying, oh, they're going to launch more coins. They're going to launch one for Elon, for Barron Trump, for there's also the World Liberty Fi coin. My stance on that is there is a very clear, what is it called? I believe this is not law. It's part of the U.S. Constitution that states no president is allowed to abuse his office to enrich himself. So when you combine this with the timing of when they launch these coins, it basically means whatever gets launched next cannot be officially associated with probably Trump himself, with Donald Trump himself and Melania Trump. So if it's his family, maybe that's still okay, but chances are much lower. So I wouldn't say, okay, like they're still going to launch under this whole thing, like more coins with the Trump name that Trump themselves with their entity can own. So this is actually very crucial. So whatever, rumors you hear this week, you're already hearing a lot of people trying to make the case that, oh, our coin is the Barron Trump coin, whatever. I think a lot of those are going to be scams simply based on this. So I think Spider has a really good take on it. No president is allowed to abuse his office to enrich himself as of 12 p.m., when he was sworn in. There technically cannot be official coins by Trump anymore. So there it is. Basically, the two official coins are Trump and Melania. Are these going to necessarily pump to Valhalla? I don't know. But whatever comes after is going to be way less official. So I think that's actually pretty interesting. So there are three so far official that are launched before, right? Official Trump, official Melania, and then the World Liberty Fi project, which is a DeFi project. It's non-transferable. You really shouldn't invest in it because the coins are not going to be tradable for a long time. But whatever comes after, probably a scam, and I don't plan to touch anything else. This is just purely for like degen side. So, okay. Now let's get into the short term, the other side of short term, which is his executive orders. So there are a ton of executive orders that have been rumored that Trump is going to put into place, over 200 of them. Now, I was just watching the live inauguration, and he did mention a ton, including even taking the US flag to Mars, which was pretty crazy. So barring everything else outside of crypto, he actually didn't mention anything around crypto in his inauguration speech. Now, does this mean there won't be executive orders around Bitcoin? No, it doesn't mean that. So just because he didn't say every single thing he's going to do doesn't mean he can't sign them into place very soon. So I wouldn't panic about this too much. This is showing on the Bitcoin chart already also. One thing you got to pay attention to is whenever you have one of these huge events like the Bitcoin ETF approval, for example, prices swing like extremely volatile for that few days. So I would definitely not take leverage trades right now. When you look at Bitcoin, right, 12 p.m. was his inauguration kind of speech. I believe like 12:30ish when he started speaking. I was just on the live stream. Just because he didn't mention Bitcoin strategic reserve in his speech, Bitcoin is already down like, what is this, like a few percent. Just ignore the volatility. To be honest, there's not much to be looking at here for the immediate short term if you're looking at like leverage trading. Okay, so just because he didn't announce it at the inauguration in the Capitol doesn't mean he can't sign it when he gets into office. Now, what are the executive orders that he is likely to put into place and what is not likely? So first of all, you should check out my previous videos already. So I made 2 pieces on this. I'm gonna show you right now. So these are actually pretty old videos. So the first one is right here. 2 months ago, I made the prediction for the 2 presidencies and what each of them could and could not do under their administration. So check this one out. And then also, 2 days ago, I published this video around Ethereum and how Trump is very bullish for ETH. So especially in here, I've laid out quite a few chapters. Specifically this one here. So first, what's possible and likely for executive orders? Number one, the strategic Bitcoin reserve, as laid out in my last video here, it's going to happen. However, it won't happen like the way people expect. So there are 2 coins of the strategic reserve. Number one is that they establish a strategic reserve holding, technically, like officially, that the US government holds Bitcoin. That's just a name change, right? So the US government already holds over 200,000 Bitcoin just from seizures. They are the largest national holder of Bitcoin. These are not Bitcoins that they bought. So that takes no effort. Literally, it makes all the sense for Trump to say, okay, we can now, call this official and we can now, do official things with it, such as pass laws against it, borrow against it, etc. That is Bitcoin strategic reserve. It is recognizing Bitcoin's status, but it doesn't take extra effort. Okay, this is assets that the U.S. Treasury already has. Now, the other side of the coin is actually passing the Bitcoin Act into law so that they have to buy Bitcoin. Based on the law, it was like 1 million. Was it 1 million? Yeah, 1 million Bitcoins every year over 5 years. Was it 1 million or 200,000? 200,000, I think, over 5 years. That is a huge number, right? And any initiative that you're taking this way, you have to it has to eat into the national budget, which the U.S. is already under a lot of pressure because they have a huge deficit problem, and they have to, issue more bonds and take more tax money to buy Bitcoin. That's a much harder thing to convince U.S. taxpayers to get on board for. So I think what's very possible and likely is recognizing Bitcoin's status in the strategic reserve. However, the other side of the Bitcoin Act to buy more Bitcoin, that's honestly quite unlikely. So this is my stance on strategic reserve that Donald Trump can do for executive order. Okay. Right. So the Bitcoin Act probably won't get passed, but the strategic reserve, just recognizing Bitcoin, much more easy to do. So this is around Bitcoin. Number 2 is the SEC. So the SEC has been talking publicly about rule change. So first of all, the SEC is getting a new chairman, Paul Atkins, to replace Gary Gensler, and Paul Atkins is very pro-crypto. But not only this, the SEC has laid out day one priorities that I have mentioned in previous video. Basically, they need to, the most important one here is that they want to withdraw the rule 3B-16, which limits DeFi exchanges. So this was the main thing that were barring US residents and US citizens to be using on-chain swaps like Uniswap, DeFi platforms, lending, borrowing, on-chain exchanges. This is one of the main things that the SEC still has, even outside of like security laws. So when it comes to SEC changes, this one probably is going to be executed right away so that anyone in the US can freely trade on chain. The other side of recognizing coins as securities or not, so there are two sides of that as well. So first of all, what Trump can do is to stop the SEC's weird attacks on US debanking. This has been said in, what is it right here? Yeah, so Democrats supposedly have been debanking Operation Choke Point, etc. This is probably going to be stopped. So existing US crypto companies will have easier access to US banking. This isn't so much going to impact us immediately. So this is number one. Number 2 is the, where is it? Here. So there is a pending, where's my tweet about this? I don't have the tweet about it. But there is a pending law to be passed that has been in discussion in the House and Senate for 2 years called Fit for 21st Century Act. This is the real bill that will define a set of rules and regulation for altcoins when it comes to which altcoins are governed by the SEC and which are regulated by the CFTC. Now, this bill cannot be just pushed through by executive order, but it will be expedited. That's number 2. And number 3 is what the SEC is not directly going after yet in terms of security laws, etc. Things in the gray area can be pushed through executive order. For instance, right here. So the most pro-crypto SEC commissioner, Hester Pierce, have already said on interview that their stance on certain DeFi aspects, such as staking. So staking is not so much governed under any specific laws, but rather it's purely a vote based on which commissioners are pro or against staking. So as long as we have a few more pro-crypto commissioners coming to the SEC, staking can be brought back into these existing ETFs. So this specifically benefits Ethereum, and you should check out my previous video right here talking about that in depth. This is something that just by changing a few members of the commissioner and especially the chair of the SEC can actually push through, which Donald Trump has the power of changing right away without having a law being passed. So this is also likely. So and finally, what's also very likely is he could do a law around something like capital gains tax. So to in the short term, end capital gains tax on crypto, and specifically around capital gains tax for US-based cryptos to boost the innovation for US-based crypto companies. This is also much easier to push because it brings up local job numbers. It brings technically like manufacturing, but it's more like tech innovation onshore, which is also part of his whole campaign. This is much easier to push because they don't have to spend any extra dollar. So yeah, so this capital gains part benefiting US-based crypto companies can also be pushed through quite quickly. So these are the 3 executive order type of actions that he can carry out. Number 1, Bitcoin strategic reserve to not sell any more Bitcoin and recognize Bitcoin as official. Number 2, SEC rule changes to not limit the use of DeFi in US and not limit staking in the US and expedite the process of positive regulation for altcoins. And number 3, potentially helping US-based crypto companies to reduce their tax bills, etc. So these are the 3 things he can do. On the other hand, what's more unlikely? So there are a lot of like kind of very big grandiose promises that people are expecting Trump to do. So he can't just sign an order and say, oh, we're going to start buying Bitcoin and put more Bitcoin in our strategic reserve. That's not going to be very favorable for him. Yeah, we would love to see that, but I'll be very surprised if that actually happens. Same goes even less likely for an altcoin reserve, for Ethereum, for Solana, or other US-based coins. It's much easier for him to say, oh, we will help US-based crypto companies by giving you more banking structure, by allowing you to use our banks, to not go after you, and to not tax you, a lot. But it's much harder for him to convince taxpayers to spend tax-paying money to buy these coins. That's completely different. So I don't think any reserves to buy more big coins will be easily established. This is quite unlikely, in my opinion. And anything else around, especially his own meme coins, etc., take it with a grain of salt. I think this is probably as much as he can do so far when it comes to actually getting involved in the ecosystem. Okay, so this is short-term stuff. So how I'm planning to take my trades over the short term, let's say over the next week. So I'm positioned in Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana because he is bullish on Bitcoin with recognizing Bitcoin status. He is bullish on Ethereum with staking, with Ethereum DeFi, with actually his related entities continuing to pick up Ethereum, which we'll talk about in the medium term as well. And he's also very bullish on Solana because, well, both of his meme coins are launched on Solana. Pretty crazy. So, and we'll talk about the crypto czar. Funny that we have a role for this in the White House now. His role when it comes to Solana as well in the medium term effects. But I hold Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, not planning to trade them, but just holding them. And I hold the Trump coin and Millennium coin as well. No politics aside, I just think they are going to get a lot more attention since he is in office now. So this is the short term. Now let's get into the medium term stuff. And this is what really gets interesting. So what's the medium term that can play out over the next 1 to 3 months? First of all, Bitcoin, no doubt, I think will head higher. Aside from the Bitcoin strategic reserve, status, there are a lot of things that can happen from a macro standpoint. So I have talked about how Fed and their money printing is heavily delayed now because the other side that is against Trump on the political landscape, they really don't want to give him an easy time until he comes into office, which has significantly delayed the Fed's money printing and quantitative easing. So far, every single FOMC meeting has been very subdued, but I think that will start to turn around since he is in office. So the next FOMC meeting on January 29th and the one following on March 18th, those will be very important to watch. And both of those can really drive up the demand for risk-on assets. We'll talk about that in the long-term section. So Bitcoin, very what's the word? No-brainer right now to hold Bitcoin, as long as you're not trading it very actively. That's my outlook for Bitcoin. You just got to hold it. For Ethereum, I think it's very interesting for short term because just watch my last video on Ethereum right here. I truly believe this is the time for Ethereum to shine from now until June based on the impending QE cycle, the money printing coming from the Fed, over the next 2 FOMC meetings in the coming 1 to 2 months. We have Ethereum's seasonality being very bullish for the first half of the year. This is also Ethereum outperforming the dollar. We have literally Trump continuing to buy more Ethereum, and we have seen this yesterday, especially the Trump family and his on-chain entities, World Liberty Fi, they have picked up over $40 million of Ethereum just yesterday alone. And they have been hinting, Eric Trump has been hinting that they're going to do something around ETH. We don't know what it is yet. I don't think this will be meme related anymore. So that's another bullish sign for Ethereum. And obviously the SEC changes for DeFi, specifically around Ethereum staking and Ethereum DeFi protocols like Uniswap, Aave, etc. Ethereum ETF inflows, there's a lot to dig into here, but you got to really check out my analysis here. Basically, the institutions, they really started to buy a lot more Ethereum ETFs right after Trump was confirmed to be the new president in November. And now that he is in office, I think this effect will accelerate. And I really believe, Ethereum is going to head a lot higher from this point. So I do hold Ethereum over the next, let's say 1 to 3 months. I do think by the summer months, let's say in May, there should be a correction. Historically speaking, sell in May and go away in the bull market year around the euphoria time. This is usually when it happens. So just pay attention there. But I do think we are still early on the ETH train. Now, when it comes to Solana, also very interesting is that Trump has not been very active on Solana up until this past 2 weeks or so. So first of all, the first sign that he was warming up to Solana came when he appointed David Sachs as the crypto czar, crypto and AI czar of the White House. Pretty crazy title. So if you don't know who this guy is, he is one of the most well-known venture capitalists in Silicon Valley, and he is a big investor in Multicoin, which is the biggest investor in Solana. So he also has publicly announced his stance on Solana. He is one of the biggest Solana bulls coming from Silicon Valley. So he is basically the main sort of crypto and AI related person in an official role in Trump's advisory board. So this is the first sign that they were warming up to Solana. Not necessarily ETH, because ETH, it's kind of a more commodity stage versus Solana as a startup stage. So this is the first sign. And then you have, I believe this piece was around 1 week ago, where there was this rumor that Trump was going to establish this America First strategic reserve for altcoins around, Solana, XRP, and other US-based crypto companies. The main source of this I found was actually just this, random piece from New York Post. I don't think this is anything really meaningful. And the main sentence that everyone keeps quoting is right here. So while many in the cryptocurrency community have been cheering on the pro-crypto executive orders Trump is expected to issue, one idea is causing more controversy: the idea of an American first strategic reserve that would prioritize digital coins founded in the US, like Solana, USDC and Ripple's XRP. Now, this is literally one idea. I wouldn't be surprised if this was completely made up by them. I couldn't find any other like official anything from anyone from the Trump family that mentions anything like this. So I don't think an altcoin reserve is on the cards here around Solana or any other US-based cryptos. Now, does this mean Trump doesn't like Solana? No, Trump is actually very pro Solana, just not in the form of putting it on their balance sheet to buy more, but rather just purely using it. So look at this past week, the frenzy that has happened on Solana. Since the Melania and Trump coins have launched on-chain on Solana, literally we are seeing historical levels of DEX volume on Sol. And they did it in a pretty crypto native way, right? So they didn't launch this on centralized exchange. They launched it using Jupiter, using Moonshot, using Meteora and Radium, purely on chain. So this is actually a very power move to use Solana infrastructure and test it. And it worked decently well, I would say. Yesterday, people had a lot of trouble to buy the Melania coin, but at this point, it's pretty stabilized. So yeah, you can't say Trump is bearish on Sol. They have launched their own meme coins on Sol. So I also hold Sol. I don't think there will be, strategic reserve in Sol. And also when it comes to Solana ETFs and such, maybe XRP ETFs and other altcoin ETFs, they probably will be approved, a few more of them this year, but I don't think they will have immediate inflows before we see a lot more inflows coming into the Ethereum ETF. I have made this stance as well before when I talked about my predictions for 2025 bull run. You can check that video right here. So nonetheless, I hold Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. I think over the next 1 to 3 months, all three of these will benefit a lot from Trump's administration. Last but not least, what about individual altcoins outside of the big three? So I think the main thing that could come is not altcoin reserves, because I don't think that's going to happen. But two things that could come, we have talked about a little bit. First is tax exemptions for US-based crypto altcoins. And second is more altcoin ETFs following Ethereum. So the top contenders there are Solana, XRP, HBAR, basically any US-based crypto companies that are large market cap and very decentralized, and ideally have been somewhat recognized by the previous SEC to be not securities. So to figure out this list, I have done pretty in-depth outlook on this as well in my crypto predictions video. I believe from the Bloomberg analysts, the main altcoins that have the biggest likelihood to have ETFs coming up are Litecoin, HBAR, Solana, XRP. I think these four are most likely. Not in that order specifically. You should check this video again, but I'm not the best analyst for this. For this kind of analysis, you really need to follow the two leading analysts coming from Bloomberg. And if you want just exposure to US-based crypto companies, CoinGecko actually made a full list in their official category that you can check out right now. So they have top altcoins that are made in the USA. So you have XRP, Solana, USDC, AVAX, Stellar, Sui, HBAR, etc. So check out this full list and see for yourself which fits your narrative the best. Which are your favorites? I think these will all do well. Okay, so that's in the medium term, 1 to 3 months. And now finally, let's talk about the long-term effects. What is really important for the long term? I think there is so much noise right now when it comes to what Trump can do for executive orders. Even if he uses all his power, he cannot really pump something so dramatic when it comes to Bitcoin, for example. Because like we talked about, he can't just say, we're going to buy 200K Bitcoin every year starting from today. Like, that's ridiculous to assume. What's really going to happen and what's really important to pay attention to is over the next 1 to 4 years, it's the macro effects that the Trump presidency can have. And there are a few separate different entities that you need to watch. So there's the US Fed and the US Treasury, the two most important parts that play into the macro. So on the side of the US Fed, we have talked about this very in depth multiple times. For all the background of this, you should check out my live stream right here, talking about the money printer and quantitative easing. So TLDR here is that the Fed has been delaying the Federal Reserve balance sheet pivot to print more money and support the US bonds market and inject liquidity into the financial markets to boost assets. So they have already hinted for this to happen in May, but we are now already in January in the new year. So they have made that previous announcement right here, but they haven't done it. So we are getting quite late, and the next two FOMC meetings, January 28th, 29th, and March 18th to 19th, these are the dates to watch if they're going to make this pivot. And the other side to watch for this is the Federal Reserve balance sheet number. So right here, as you can see, the balance sheet number is still continuing to decrease. So whenever this number is decreasing, that tells you that we are in a quantitative tightening cycle. So the Fed is selling assets. When this is increasing, that is quantitative easing, when the Fed is buying assets. So at some point, they'll have to revert this, because this is the only way that the US government can not default on their debt. And they need the Treasury to be supporting the bonds market. So this needs to revert to the upside. Question is when. And this is the major catalyst that we need to see happen that actually benefits the macro over the long term. So this is the first one. The second is in the US Treasury, not the US Fed. So what the US Treasury can do is to devalue the dollar. So there is a new Secretary of Treasury coming in, his name is Scott Bessent, to replace Elizabeth Warren. The main thing that crypto audience needs to know right now is basically their stance on the dollar. So if the dollar is strong, that means a weaker crypto market, weaker Bitcoin market, because, typically, risk-on assets is inversely correlated to dollar and the Dixie's price, the dollar price. And specifically for Bitcoin, because it's a very global asset that mainly trades against US dollar across all crypto exchanges across the world. This is only native to crypto, not for stocks. What happens is the Bitcoin price is even more heavily inversely correlated to the Dixie's strength or dollar's strength. So whenever you have a strong dollar, you have a weak Bitcoin. Whenever you have a weak Bitcoin dollar, you have a strong Bitcoin. So this is because, when for example, Chinese investors, when they trade Bitcoin, they still look at Bitcoin's price versus USDT, because on all crypto exchanges, this is the price chart that they look at. Unlike on when they trade maybe the S&P, they trade that against the yen, the yuan, or in Japan, they trade against the yen. In Europe, they trade against the euro. So this is completely different for Bitcoin because it always trades against USDT. So this is why the dollar's strength or weakness is super important for Bitcoin and crypto. And so far, the new theme for Trump and the new Secretary of Treasury is to have a strong dollar. So a lot of the media coverage has been, oh, a strong dollar will be a staple of the Trump administration. This is kind of the stance that they have to kind of have people feel, because, well, way more voters care about strong dollar being a good feeling, and to they care about the status of the US dollar being the reserve currency, because this feels good. However, when it comes to the real economic effects of this, again, I'm not an expert, but just based on Investopedia, we know that one of Trump's core stances is to bring on more onshore goods and services, jobs, by bringing manufacturing onshore and decreasing imports, increasing exports. Okay, so very simply put, when you have a weaker domestic currency, in this case US dollar, it stimulates exports and decreases imports. And conversely, when you have a strong US dollar, it decreases exports and increases imports. This is the real economics of this. So when we are at the election stage and the voting stage, yes, they will try to make people feel like the theme is a strong dollar, but I tend to think, and I have heard a lot of people expect from analysts, that the real dollar stance coming from Trump and Scott Bessent over the first year of the administration is going to be a weak dollar. Now, I'm not sure if this is going to be the case, but if this happens, this will be actually very bullish for Bitcoin. So how can you track this? Well, obviously follow every time that Scott Bessent makes a long-term speech when it comes to his stance on the dollar. He has not been very clear on this thus far. And also, you got to follow the Dixie. The Dixie is so important. If we get a reversal on the Dixie, this is going to be signaling a lot of strength for Bitcoin. We're not getting that yet. I'm not sure if this is going to happen. I've heard arguments for both sides. If anyone really knows a very definitive, announcement coming from Scott Bessent directly, drop them in the comments, and I would love to do more research on this. I just know this is very important, but I'm not completely sure if they have made their stance very clear yet. This is one of the most pivotal things outside of the Fed balance sheet pivot. Their stance on the dollar, whether they're going to keep the dollar strong for the first year or start to weaken the dollar for the first year. It's going to impact the crypto market a lot, and how this bull market plays out a lot. So this is something of a long-term effect that really is important. I'm doing a lot more research on this as well, following this every day. Okay, so these are the two most important long-term effects that the new Trump administration can bring. It's actually all about macro. So what they can do with quantitative easing, money printing to support the bond market, and what they plan to do with the dollar, if they're going to keep the dollar strong or devalue the dollar. So that's all of the worthy catalysts for short-term, medium-term, and long-term. And just to summarize how I'm trading this week, the next 3 months, and how I'm watching the next macro developments for this bull run. So for the short term, don't take on any leverage. This is going to be a crazy week. Even for Bitcoin, people are panicking even during the inauguration simply because Trump didn't announce a Bitcoin strategic reserve in the inauguration speech. There has already been sell-off and it's starting to bounce. Like, this is crazy, right? Don't trade with leverage. For the short term, I am already holding Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. All three of these will benefit, no doubt. I'm also holding the Trump Memecoins. You can hold it. You can choose to not hold it. There is a lot of risk there. Just keep putting this out there. And for medium term, Again, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana will all benefit. Bitcoin because the Bitcoin strategic reserve recognizing its status most likely will happen. For Ethereum, Trump's family is literally buying Ethereum on chain, and they have more initiatives coming up. Don't fade ETH. The SEC is also passing a lot of new changes around DeFi, which is beneficial for ETH. For Solana, the Trump extended family is doing a lot of DeFi, meme coin stuff on Sol, and also Trump's new crypto advisor David Sachs is one of the biggest Solana bulls, and also Solana ETF probably is going to come this year, so bullish on Solana as well. Just hold Bitcoin, Ethereum, Sol for the next 3 months. You're not going to go wrong with that. Other altcoins, maybe you can watch how the USA made crypto altcoins will be doing. I don't think the reserve for altcoins is going to happen. Pretty much the only thing worth paying attention to is the tax exemptions for US crypto startups and the launch of more US altcoin ETFs. Maybe they will happen this year, but that will take some time. You can find the full list of made in USA altcoins on CoinGecko with this category list. And also lastly, long term, the two most important factors to watch for how well this bull run can play out. First is the next two FOMC meetings, how the Fed plans to play their balance sheet, if they are going to make a pivot and start buying more assets by printing money and buying treasury bonds. You need to follow their statements on the FOMC meetings, and you need to follow the Federal Reserve balance sheet chart directly here on TradingView, whether we can have a reversal of this. On the other side, you need to follow what Scott Bessent, the new US Secretary of Treasury, his stance, which is directly carry on from the government and from Trump himself, what their stance is when it comes to the dollar. If they're going to have a strong dollar, then we will have, honestly, a worse time in crypto because Bitcoin is heavily inversely correlated to the dollar's strength. But if they do intend to devalue the dollar in the first year in 2025, then that's going to lead to a lot of strength for Bitcoin and crypto. So you need to follow their stance on this, and you need to follow the Dixie's chart. Make sure to follow me on X at VirtualBacon0x. I've been covering not only this stuff, but also have been giving all my takes live as they happen on, for example, on Trump, and my actions on them around the hour of the Trump coin launch. So you really have to follow me on Twitter because honestly, I can't go live and make videos all the time. And if you're looking for a trading community, we have one called the Coiners. You can check it out in the link in the description, where we have chats, live streams, ask any questions, signals from all other analysts. You can check your bias, you can ask questions, all kinds of stuff. So check it out, free community, link in my bio. Okay, that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you on the next one.